So the National Prosecuting Authority has added additional charges against former eThekwini Mayor Zandile Gumede and others. She and her co-accused will now have to answer to racketeering charges as well. This, of course, in addition to more than 2,000 corruption-related charges against them in connection with the Durban solid waste tender, which, of course, was awarded during her time as mayor. But the pre-trial hearing has now been delayed yet again until November. The case itself likely only to get underway July 2022. Well, to discuss this, I'm joined now by Brutus Malada, an independent political analyst and part of the social think tank, the Midrand Group. Thank you so much for joining us. So, talk to us about these racketeering charges. It amps everything up a little bit, doesn't it? Because it suggests like a really organized criminal network. Am I correct?
Yeah, look, this is not a small case. You would remember that the amount that is involved here, it's more than R250 billion, 320 million that we're talking about. And it means that the state in its investigations now has actually found traces of money flowing from one hand to the other. Hence, they are adding a new charge of racketeering. So it means that actually the net is closing on the protagonists of this criminal scandal. You would recall also that the other thing that happened is that there have been movements in terms of the accused number 1, number 2, and number 3. Gumede was accused number 16, now is standing as accused number 1. It means that the state has a solid case, and hence they've added this new charge.
All right, so that's all quite interesting, but it's yet another delay. If my memory serves me correctly, wasn't the former mayor arrested in 2019? It's a long time to wait for justice. Yeah,
look, the wheels of justice are turning, but they turn very slow. I mean, we have a bigger scandal of Jacob Zuma that has lasted for so many years, and it's only now that he's appearing in court. So there will always be delays that are technical, some of which would come from the part of the defendants. And you would realize that today there was an issue about the changes in the representatives of the defendants, that they had to change, or some of their lawyers have withdrawn and they have to be replaced. So there will be those technicalities. But as far as the state is getting ready for this trial, I think there is hope that they will be able to have a pre-trial in November.
All right, let's focus on Zandile Gumede as the former mayor. Of course, she was also then after she left that position, I think, partly due to what was going on with this court case. She was then reappointed to the provincial legislature. Following an outcry, she then was pulled off that. She has now stepped aside, according to the ANC rules. She's still an incredibly popular figure in the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. Could you explain to us what makes her so popular in the province?
Look, firstly, this is what the ANC does. When one of the members or its members are disgraced, the ANC will always find a place, a dumping ground for such leaders. They will either be taken to parliament, or they will be made provincial legislature, or they will be taken out of the country as ambassadors. So that's what the ANC does. It shields and protects some of its disgraced leaders through that process. Now, the popularity of Gumede, what the people like Gumede have done, just as Jacob Zuma has done, is that they tend to mobilize support, indicating conspiracy, political conspiracy, that they are being targeted for this or the other. Whereas actually the act of corruption is an individual choice, that a person who engages in a criminal conduct should face consequences. So what they do, they try to dupe the public and try to mobilize the public to solicit support. So the support base of Gumede, it's probably there within the ANC, but it will show at the coming elections whether the ANC remains a credible party within KwaZulu-Natal or in Durban as a municipality on the basis of its electoral support. But as for her support in the ANC, we will never know until they also go to the national elections.
So what do you think is going to happen in the next few months? We are heading for local government elections. She has stepped aside. So presumably she cannot be used in any way to drum up support for the ANC in the province.
No, I bet that it will happen, that she will be part of the campaign in KZN. Remember, if you look at the ANC in its totality, and there is a question that I like to pose quite often, which is, if you were to ask kids at school and say, name 5 or 2 leaders of the ANC that are credible, I bet that kids will fail actually to come up with that number. Because all the leaders of the ANC at national, at provincial, and at local, they are actually tainted with one or the other scandal. Either it's corruption or something else out of their own misconduct. So people like Gumede will still be going around mobilizing for the ANC. And it's up to the electorate to decide what they want to do with the ANC, whether they return them to power or they actually find an alternative.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was Brutus Malada, independent political analyst, part of the social think tank, the Midrand Group.